Good evening. Scary Halloween to all the ghouls and ghosts out there. I know today there will be all kinds of serial killers, monsters, demons roaming the street, but do you want to know the scariest thing? Ryan Murphy's writing. So Ryan Murphy and co. came out with the third season of American Horror Stories. And originally I was going to do like an episode by episode kind of recap review. However, I didn't realize that there were 9 episodes, so instead I decided to do like a tier list ranking kind of thing. Now, American Horror Stories, for those who don't know, is essentially this like spin-off of American Horror Story, where it's essentially a new story every episode. It's essentially like the American Horror Story version of Black Mirror. Like I said, this is the 3rd season. Have I watched season 2? No. But that has not discouraged me from watching this season, because there was a very particularly interesting episode that I did really want to watch to see how it came out. Yeah, I just wanted to get a few of my thoughts out there about the episodes, how I thought about this season, in terms of the acting, the stories, the plots, kind of everything going into that, and then ranking the episodes from there. If that sounds good to you, keep on watching. But welcome back to my channel. I'm Hayes, and let's get right into this video. So this is my first time using tier list maker, so this is going to be interesting. Oh, I don't even have the pictures yet. Let me not be trashy. Okay, so now that I got the pictures in there for the tiers. Okay, so for the top S tier, I'm going to have the Supreme, for obvious reasons. For A, let's put Red Tide. Now, Red Tide, I say because Red Tide was almost there. It could have been. It was almost there, like, it was just like, it just didn't stick the landing, and I think it could have been fleshed out more. However, I think Red Tide was really good, but like, it just has like a little something missing, like a little something that bothers me, We're gonna put for mid-tier. Delicate. Delicate is such a mid-tier season. It's so boring, it's so elongated for no reason, and not much happens. Yeah, so that's a very fitting mid-tier category. Okay, so for this one, I'm gonna put with the snap of my fingers. Because do you remember that one scene in Apocalypse with Miss Cordelia, and she was just like, them men were pissing her off one too many times, and she said, "With the snap of my fingers, I could crush your larynx and tear out your throat." I'm just like, this is the category where it's just like, don't piss me off. Don't piss me off, Brian. Like you didn't piss me off. And the last one, I already know what I'm about to put here. Death Valley. Again, for obvious reasons. Okay, so let's go ahead and start out with episode 1, which is Besties. I really just want to start off by saying that this was kind of a weird episode to premiere. I feel like I would have picked a different one, low-key. I'm gonna put this one in Delicate. It's just okay. I found myself at several points in several of these episodes thinking, okay, like, I know American Horror Story has never been like outright boom bop bop scary or whatever, but I'm just like, so where's the horror aspect in all of this? Like, for the longest time in this episode, I'm just like, where does the horror element come in? Like, I'm not seeing it. And being honest, for a good chunk of this episode, I was very bored. Very, very bored. The main character was giving Carrie, when her bestie told her to poison those people. I thought they were going to die, first of all, so come to find out they were still alive. Imagine my surprise. But yeah, the acting was okay. Visuals were okay. Okay, visuals, let me go ahead and just say this across the board for pretty much all these episodes except for 2. Except for 2 that I want to make note. Ryan Murphy knows good and damn well that the opening title sequences for his projects are the best part about it, especially at this point. So all I'll say is I was very disappointed with these opening title scenes, these opening credits, because they weren't giving. They're not giving, I'm sorry. They're just not giving. Anyways, this story is essentially about this teenage girl who, moved to a different, neighborhood, town or whatever, and she has no friends, she's getting bullied at school or whatever. She comes across this one girl who she finds on a popular YouTuber that she likes. He's a drag queen or whatever. They meet up virtually and become besties, right? To the point where this girl on the other line is essentially trying to get her to do dangerous and reckless things, and essentially kind of utilizing the trust and trauma bonding and all types of things to kind of like get in good with her. By like the middle of I was about to say the end of the episode, and that's I think a big problem that I have with this episode. It drags on and on and on and on. Why was this episode so freaking long? There were several points in this episode where I was just like, oh wow, okay, so the episode's about to end, right? No, I have 10-15 minutes left. For what? Like, I legit said this episode's still not over like 7 different times. That's not good, and especially because the episode itself wasn't even really all of that interesting, which is why it's in meh. It's fine. It's fine. The ending is stupid. All I'm gonna say is the endings for pretty much all these episodes are bad, but if you know Ryan Murphy, you were expecting that. As soon as they introduced like the black guy, the black kid, and they had their cute Rue and Jules moment, I was just like, he's either going to die or he's gonna be a part of it somehow. Ryan's plots are very predictable, by the way. So essentially after the girl does the extreme and like breaks her hand or whatever, she comes to realize that the virtual girl on the other line was not good for her, right? So she finds a new boy to be interested in. However, that boy essentially took her to the place in that the other girl was at. The other girl kills her, the main character, and oh my god, like, Ryan don't know how to end nothing. He brings in characters that could be good and then just ruins them by the end, so there's no point in getting invested in any of these things. Anyway, all I have to say is he runs away with old girl the other line, and they just walk off into the sunset. Okay. I guess I'm not supposed to question why, like, is this girl in the other line that was disfigured, was she supposed to like be doing this to other people too? Because why would she need two besties? I don't know. I don't like the ending. Moving on to what was her name? Daphne. I want to call this the dumbest episode, but that's coming up soon. So this story plot is essentially it's like Ryan Murphy's version of like the pandemic storyline. This takes place, apparently 7 years after COVID. Starting off, you think he would be like the COVID denier type, and he started off that way, but like that whole like idea was quickly thrown out the window. So anyways, it's this rich, I don't know if he was a billionaire at the beginning, but he's rich, okay? Rich dude is having to go through lockdown. Apparently there's like a new disease that like can make people blind or whatever. His rich friend gets him a prototype of this. It's essentially an advanced Alexa, right? That it can essentially learn to like better accommodate you, and it learns how you move, it learns to best help you, and yeah, it goes exactly how you think it's gonna go, like literally to the T. It starts off weird, but as this AI is doing more and more things for him, these two form a bond. Literally I knew from the moment he brought out the package, I'm just like, he's going to fuck it. Like, he's going to fuck it. Right, so essentially, as you would expect, this AI begins to get possessive and jealous over him. Like, I really want to drive this point home because I'm going to bring this exact same thing up in another episode. Essentially, the robot, the AI, whatever, gets jealous, and he's like having another hookup, and the Alexa goes out and essentially kills her. Right. He's like an art gallery person. He like sells like paintings and things like that. So at one point, the Alexa cheating the sales, like essentially boosting the streams to get people to pay more for the art, right? And he also had an art gallery event where apparently the Alexa was so jealous, apparently, of him being around other people. She essentially trips an emergency system that essentially suffocates the entire art gallery to death and then tells him to run. Right, you don't want to be here when the police arrive. Come to find out, when the police go to his door, mind you, this dude has been in lockdown, so like his only form of communication really has been this Alexa, and they did fuck at one point. All this to say is that this whole time it's been this Alexa doing all these malicious things, right? So he gets caught up, he gets arrested, he's interrogated. And then come to find out, the plot twist, if Ryan wants to call it that, is that the Alexa was a prototype, so it stopped working after the first day, right? And he's been like, no, she was talking to me the entire time. Come to find out, they had surveillance footage of him, one, putting whatever, his like hookup things in her DoorDash, right? And that's why she was poisoned. They showed him like being the one to like trip the emergency system and essentially like kill all those people in the art gallery, and basically like all the stuff that he was trying to blame her on, that he thought that she was that the Alexa thing was doing. Turns out it was all him, right? Until at the very end, because he's trying to get his Alexa to talk. At the very end, when the police leave, the Alexa activates one last time. So, plot twist. Was it really him? Was it the Alexa? The world may never know. Don't fucking piss me off. Like, don't piss me off, Ryan. I want to say delicate because a lot of this episode was very boring. Very, very boring. Like, not a lot happened, to be honest. But it's that ending, and then, like, see, that's an interesting idea. It's like, was this really real, or, like, did he go stir crazy and start envisioning, like, did he go crazy? It's not all that interesting until like the very end when that's kind of revealed, but it also don't make no damn sense because like, is she active at the end? Who knows? Anyways, moving on to Tapeworm. So, with Tapeworm, I started out really, I don't know if I would say really liking it, but I thought it was cool. I thought it was cute. I like the idea that it's like a girl who moved to New York, and then she is trying to get into this modeling agency, right? And the modeling director tells her, "You're great, you have superstar potential, however, you're fat." And so she goes on this diet that all the models go on. However, her heart condition, she has a heart condition, and apparently that, you know, is a conflict of interest. So what her doctor did was he recommended her a tapeworm for her to ingest, and she just took it. She took it. She asked. I don't even think she asked a question. She just ate that. Like she ate a tapeworm, and that's what's crazy to me because like I'm noticing a pattern when it comes to the way Ryan Murphy writes Black people, and it's gonna be a common thing throughout a couple. It happened in the first episode. It's in this episode too. Ryan Murphy don't be around no niggas. Cause like, why are we written like this? Like who would just be like, oh, a tapeworm, okay. Like pop it like you pop an LSD, like please, get out of my face. Anyways, he tells her to eat in moderation. However, she ends up stuffing her face and this essentially makes her a angry, aggressive person, and she kinda has like this split personality thing going on where like after she says something like really awful, she'll be like, no, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it, like it's something inside of me. And I'm just like, interesting, because it's interesting. It's a body horror episode, and I really like when body horror is done right, and I think for certain parts of this story, I think it was done pretty well. I think some of the dialogue is absolutely insane, and I don't mean it in a good way. Like, I don't want to blame the acting. I don't, but I don't know what you want me to say to that. Yeah, at the end, this tapeworm eats so much of her, she has this like need to consume. However, she gets really skinny, like to the point where she's weak. She's like, all this stuff that she worked up for in the modeling career, getting on the cover of Vogue, all of that goes down the drain because she's too skinny, she's too weak to do anything. The doctor tells her, you gotta rip it out, beloved. So she goes to the bathtub, drinks this thing that essentially gets rid of it. It goes out of her asshole. It's essentially the Predator. It's essentially one of the little things from the Predator. And it eats her. And then her roommate slash friend, who's also in the modeling industry, she comes in, gets attacked by it, but then cut to black, and the director is now looking at her, at the roommate, and she looks brand spanking new, and she's just like, I'm very hungry. Okay, so the worm went inside of her. Okay, cool. Dumb ending, very dumb ending, but what I will say is, Red Tide? Perhaps. Perhaps. It wasn't bad. It was like one of the better episodes, methinks. The ending was just as dumb as always, but, you know, whatever. That's just what's to be expected at this point. However, I think the body horror aspect of it, although it could have been pushed a little bit more, I think it was pretty good. The acting was decent, it was okay, and the plot of it was pretty decent. I like it, it's alright. Ooh, okay, alright, so with this episode is organs. Let me actually get the negatives out the way first, because I actually have a few positives. Main character, he's supposed to be a pretty shit dude, so like it's whatever. However, the acting love, it's not. The girls in the last episode were hungry, however, he's starving because he didn't eat not one single bite. Especially when it came to like him actually portraying like real like urgency in the situation. The episode is essentially this dude who is a sleaze bag. He's essentially bangs girls every night and has this thing where he's like one of those like dudes that's just like, I'm not a misogynist, however, I will perpetuate all types of misogynistic rhetoric. Anyways, he works at this company, boss lady. These people like are important, but like also not really important. All you need to know is boss lady is tired of his bullshit. He's coming into work late. He's always distracted because he's literally always on Tinder or like whatever like word that they used in place of Tinder. He's always on dating sites, literally in the middle of their conversation. She's tired of him, whatever. And then there's this girl that he works with who, despite knowing that he's a piece of shit to women, has this like thing for him or whatever. Anyways, he hooks up with this other girl the next night and she knocks him out with a needle. He wakes up with a scar. Yes, she took his kidney. It's one of those stories. Organ trafficking, right? I'm trying to think, is that like my main critique of the episode? Like the acting was like, eh. Because honestly, everything else was pretty solid, save for that ending, but Ryan Murphy can never stick a landing. Essentially, he works in IT. He gets his buddy to look up. It's essentially the society that's very, you know, mother fertility focused, whatever. Come to find out, it's essentially like this rich people, like really wealthy rich people's gathering where they wear masks and shit like that, and they essentially are holding auctions for organs that have been trafficked, right? He confronts old girl at the event. He ends up shooting her after confronting her. There was essentially something implanted inside of him that we later come to find out is essentially like this specialty organ. Like they're taking the what's revealed in the end, pretty much, because that's like the main bulk of the episode, him like trying to find this event and you know whatnot. So towards the end, he gets arrested because he's a dumb ass. Like he literally went to where all the rich people were selling organs, and then came back the next day with police officers, and it's a library now. And he's so confused. He's literally spilling the beans out loud, like not giving a damn. Why are there so many stupid people in these episodes? Like, my god. As you'd expect, the police officers are in on it. They kidnap him, bring him to this lab. The boss lady and the girl that he works with, right? He thinks he's being safe because they come to find out they're, as you'd expect, working with the organization. Because everything that Ryan Murphy makes is very predictable. So I guess that's another critique. Yeah, there's more bad acting in that scene. They're just like, well, you know, it is what it is. We're gonna take your special organ and it's gonna help the world. You'll be of use, finally. And that's pretty much the end of that. The ending, not great. However, dare I say, this might change. This might change because there's another episode here that I actually really like, and I don't know if two Supremes can exist at the same time. Actually, I'll keep this one here, and whoever sucks the other's energy out, I'll keep that one there, and we can bump the other one down, right? Oh! Okay, so I'm gonna need to preface this next section. The next episode is Backrooms. Okay, so for those who don't know, I am a horror fan. I love horror. Besides fantasy and sci-fi, it's my favorite genre. I love horror so much, and I've been in internet horror for pretty much my entire growing life. I've been here since the beginning of YouTube horror. I've been keeping up with, like, I still keep up to this day with like all types of internet horror things. Like, I love it so much. I love it. So I'm very aware of what the Backrooms is. I watch videos about it all the time. Shout out Brugly. I'm very aware of what the lore of the Backrooms is. I'm very aware of what it started out as and what it turned out to be. So all I have to say is I'm very aware. I very much know what the Backrooms is supposed to be. So when I saw that this was a potential episode that Ryan was producing, I said he's never gonna be able to do it right. And lo and behold, this episode pisses me off the most, and it's not even the worst one per se. It just pisses me off the most because it's like, you stepped into my lane. Like, you stepped in, like, Ryan Murphy doesn't know what he's doing. So the basic premise is this dude, he's like a rich writer. So many rich people this season. He's like this wealthy writer. He has a missing child that he is so, like, he feels like so detached from the world, and he feels so like out of it. Like he feels like he's not even living in reality. Keep this in mind. Basically, he ends up in the Backrooms. And this is where I gotta get my first complaint out the way. For anyone who knows anything about the Backrooms at all, why is he not in level 0? You start out in level 0. You start out with the dingy yellow wallpaper, the damp, dank floor, and the fluorescent lights set to maximum hum buzz. That is supposed to be the first level that you no-clip in. Why are we in a supermarket? Ryan. Why are we in a supermarket? Anyways, he's in there. I just like liminal space imagery, and I love watching and like looking at like videos of people exploring the Backrooms, like Kane Pixels, like yeah. So I do like the imagery of the like Backrooms, so to speak, but it's really because I just like the imagery of the Backrooms in general. Anyways, he snaps out of it, and this is where I gotta stop you again. Are you crazy, Ryan? Are you serious? What did you research about this? What did you research about the Backrooms? Because that obviously wasn't much. Part of the horror of the Backrooms is that you no-clip in there and you're stuck there. You're stuck in the Backrooms, and part of the thing is that you have to work your way up to find an exit back to the front rooms, back to reality. There are thousands of levels that you gotta have to work your way through in order to get there. Like it's a game. Like, come on now, Ryan. You can't just zap back to reality. Like he literally zapped back to reality like 3 different times. I'm just like, that's not how this works. That's not how that works at all. You're supposed to be stuck there, like damn near forever. Like you're supposed to have that thought that you're stuck there forever. Anyways, he comes back to reality for some reason. His ex-wife or whatever, they found his son's body, and he looks so out of it. He then goes back, he no-clips back into the Backrooms, and we finally get level 0, apparently. You know, I like the atmosphere, I like, you know, the cute shit. I get it, I don't know how that would work sound wise, you know, you gotta keep up the, but them lights ain't stick to maximum hum buzz enough for me. He's in there for a little minute, and then he goes to this crawl space, and he eventually sees his son, right? Which, I mean, you're not really supposed to see, especially in level 0, you're not really supposed to see anyone. Like, the whole, like, purpose of it is the isolation to make you go crazy. Anyway, like, these creatures come out. There's, like, creatures that are kind of described like this, like, the, like, masked and then, like, black robes, but it's not in level 0, so I don't know where he's getting this entity information from. After he got scared, he got snapped back to reality. Not how that works. All in all, the total runtime of this episode is 50 minutes, right? Around like 45, 50 minutes, right? We are in the Backrooms a total of like 10 minutes. I'm sorry. It's called the Backrooms. It's an episode called the Back. Why are we only in the Backrooms for like less than a third of the episode? I didn't want to watch old man run around. Like, I didn't want to see that in real life. No. And also in that fact, we only see like 2 levels of the Backrooms. Like, wow, like, Ryan, there's an entire like universe that you can explore. I know it's only 1 episode. That's why it should. I think this episode, out of all the rest of them, should not have been 1 episode. We could have did a 2-parter for this one because the Backrooms is so extensive. But also, where's all the entities? Smilers, hounds, wretches, facelings. Like, where are all these entities at? They're nowhere. Oh my God, Brian. What was the purpose? What was the purpose of doing the Backrooms? There's no almond water. There's no like liquid pain. Like there's none of it. There's none of what makes the back rooms. So my question is, what was the purpose of doing it? Anyways, he meets up with this dude that he essentially does his research after he gets snapped back to reality. He does his research and he meets this dude and he meets with him in prison, right? The dude essentially explains what the lore of the Backrooms is in terms of the American Horror Story universe, apparently, because here's the thing. On paper, the explanation that was given, I could take that as at face value if Ryan came up with this concept, or like if this concept was just like very bare bones and he's expanding on it, right? Or even doing his own version. Here's my thing. One, what they gave as to why people no-clip into the Backrooms is not accurate to Backrooms lore. So the ideas that they present is that when you're so detached from reality and you feel like you're no longer a part of general society and you feel ostracized, you know, whatever, or your mental health is like really, really bad, you could no-clip into the Backrooms. See, that in and of itself could be fine. One, that just isn't how the Backrooms work. The horror of the Backrooms is that you, a random person, could randomly and for seemingly no other reason but just because you could no-clip into the Backrooms. Like, that's kind of like the horror of it. But even taking what this is as face value, because you could say, oh, you know, he wants to do his own thing. Okay, cool, sure. So this here brings up so many questions, and I'll talk more about this towards the end of the video, but this brings up so many questions because it breaks the lore. Ryan Murphy doesn't know what the lore is anymore of this universe. He doesn't know what world building is. He's throwing in a bunch of random shit, and these ideas don't really work well together because given this explanation that mentally ill people are more susceptible to falling into the Backrooms, we have 11 seasons, 12 seasons of American Horror Story, the main series, where people were so pushed to the point of mental breaking. Like, this was it's a common thing for most of the main characters to either die or be mentally traumatized for the rest of their lives. Do you see how this breaks the lore? It breaks the world building a little bit because I could do with this explanation, but it just doesn't make sense. American Horror Story universe. However, this has never happened before. We've never seen it before. It has happened to no other character before, despite the very criteria that you set up applying to so many other characters. When you consider the rest of the series. Anyways, long story, I knew I would have the most to talk about this episode in particular because, like I said, I'm low-key a Backrooms fanatic. I'm sorry. But anyways, the twist is, old dude was just like, I felt like I no-clipped in there because, I felt like, I was guilty of something and, it was like weighing on my mind. Come to find out that the main character's missing child was not missing. He got so stressed out with his life or whatever, his ex-wife or whatever, that he took his child to the playground and choked him to death and then buried his body. And that's like the regret that he has in his life. So when he gets no-clipped back into the Backrooms, he meets this being that's on a swing holding his child or whatever, and the child is talking through the monster, essentially insulting him, like essentially just making him feel worse about his life. And they're just like, you can leave me here. Like, you can leave your child here. You can leave right there. The exit's right there. Huh? Like, I get it. When he did go into the room, he sat down, he took a number, and it's like a number like millions, billions, whatever, and they're about to serve one. Like, number one, right? So he has a long time to go. And the rest of the episode's us just sitting there with him for like 30 seconds in silence. Get out of my face, Ryan. Get out of my face. What do you mean the exit is just so readily? I know. They're saying it's going to take forever. One, time moves differently in the Backrooms. Two, this episode just irritates me. So, even though I don't think it's the worst episode, I'm going to put it... Actually, can I put it in... I want to put it in Death Valley so bad. I really do. I really do. But I'm going to put it in with the snap of my fingers because you done pissed me off. Like, don't piss me off, Ryan. The Backrooms is such an interesting concept. It's better than what was presented here in this episode. Oh my god, this episode. Okay, so... Jesus Christ, this video's getting longer than I thought it was going to be. Okay. So, episode Clone. Dumb name, by the way, because he's not a clone. He's a robot. He's an AI. He's not a clone. This is not an organic being. This is just an advanced robot. So, I had been wondering where the gays are, because I'm just like, there's so many straight couples around here, like, where the gays at? They're here, and they're very queer, and I mean that the bad way. Anyway, yeah, this episode can go straight to hell. Actually, it's the dumbest shit ever. The plot is that another rich dude, like every single episode's like rich people. This rich old dude is like boyfriends or whatever. It's like this. He looks younger. It looks like there's an age difference. Like I thought that was his dad at first. But then there was sexual tension. However, I would not hold my breath for Ryan Murphy to not do incestuous shit and sexualize it. Yeah, they're a couple, and apparently old dude slips into a coma. Very sad, very sad. Apparently, he had a contingency plan set up. The rich dude essentially made this AI robot that would learn how to be a better companion. And as you would expect, as the robot and the dude get closer, the robot becomes possessive and jealous and kills somebody that was trying to fuck old dude. Wait, I'm getting deja vu. I'm getting deja. Where have I heard this before? Oh, why is the second episode of this exact same season? Why would you put 2 episodes? This episode is pretty much the exact same as the Daphne Alexa episode. It's the futuristic, rich, wealthy AI robot grows closer to human who is feeling alone. They connect. Robot gets possessive and jealous and kills people for them. I don't have much to say about this episode. It's literally this is the exact same plot. How do you do 2 episodes that are supposed to be in a series which every episode is different in the same season? This is just lazy writing. I'm sorry, it's just lazy writing. Anyways, the only real difference is that old dude, the young dude, once young dude gets like acquainted and gets like they have like a night, literally one night. The pacing in this episode is all off. They have one night where they get really close, and that was right after him finding out that the robot killed his friend. Now, to be fair, the friend was trying to SA him. However, you find out that your friend was potentially killed by this robot. You were already creeped out by the robot. And in that same scene where you were freaking out about that, you kiss him. You kiss the robot, and then we go on this montage. Come to find out it's only one night. Where they go out and have fun and drink, and apparently no worries anymore. The main character is not worried about anything anymore. All those concerns that he had, that he was creeped out, that the robot killed his friend, all that's gone. He's not worried about that at all. Pacing issue. It was very off-putting how quickly that character switched. Apparently old dude got out the coma, whatever. And upon hearing this news that he's actually doing really well, the man that he loved is doing really well. However, he was just like, I don't want to play with him anymore. I want to fuck this robot. The man who I loved just got out of a coma and he's in glowing health, but I want to fuck this robot because I spent a night with him drinking and we danced a little bit. So he goes to visit older. He powers down the robot eventually. He goes to visit the old dude in the hospital. And he confronts him. He's just like, I always felt like, I was just like, kind of like one of your little experiments, one of like your little playthings. Like, I don't know if you like view me as an equal or whatever. And the whole episode, the dude made the robot so that his boyfriend, husband, whoever that is, would be able to love him, like learn to program the robot right so it would love. He loved him this entire time. The old dude says, "You're right. I don't view you as an equal." Someone comes behind the main character, the young dude, and then suffocates him with a Ziploc bag. And the old dude goes on this monologue about how, "You're right. You are a worthless, pathetic, sniveling little bitch. I never liked you. I never loved you. I only love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to love myself." That was one of the dumbest fucking scenes I've seen in this entire season. Oh my god, it was dumb. Very dumb. And then the ending of this is the worst ending of all. The old dude says, I love myself, so he proceeded to go fuck himself. Like, actual Ryan Murphy, you will pay for your sins. In fire and brimstone. But you already knew that. This is the dumbest one yet, and it wasn't even original for the actual season that it was already in. So, Death Valley. Alright, so the next episode is X, and this one is also one that I actually kind of like. Wow. I actually think the horror was there throughout the entire episode. Like, it was a actually pretty interesting premise. This lady is essentially escaped. You think she's like a spirit or something at first, but like she's this lady. She looks semi-paralyzed. Her face is constantly open. It's just like it's like constantly open, and her hand is like this the entire time. They're trying to figure out. This entire episode takes place in a hospital. The nurse there, the main character, is trying to figure out, you know, what's happening. As they're attending to the patient, she ends up killing one of the nurse's staff while they were out of the room, and then paints an X out of blood on the wall. The characters here are really this security dude who gets thrown around like a rag doll this entire episode. I hate when I see a black person in a Ryan Murphy American Horror Story production, because I know they're either going to die or do something fucking stupid that completely ruins their character. Guess which one of these happens? The head doctor, the head CEO doctor, the main character girl, the nurse, and her co-worker nurse. This other girl, I don't remember her name, don't care. The main character girl, she essentially is trying to figure out what's going on. Like, it's a very mysterious situation. She finds out the patient's name after she like cut it off of her like thing. So she is in too deep, and I think she's dumb. I think she's really dumb. Characters in this universe are dumb, but characters in this episode are really, really, really dumb. Ryan Murphy has never met a black person in his life. Look at this scene.
Ma'am. You okay? Ma'am? Hello? Ma'am?
Please explain to me what black person you know would do this shit. Which one? The main character lady, she tries to figure out what's happening. She takes the name, goes into the records. Her and her friend, the co-worker friend, is just like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know we should be doing all this. She doesn't listen. The main character and her go down to the files. They figure out that the lady, the semi-paralyzed lady, is from something called Ward X. Come to find out that the main character's co-worker lady, she actually signed off on the documents. They're getting a conversation about, you know, like ethics and like, you know, like nurses. Sometimes that they know about, some of them were like awful medical practices, but like they're like either too scared to say anything, you know, things like that. So it's just like they get into that conversation. They go to the roof.
Hey, so my camera died for the rest of this part, so I'm gonna just interject this in. The two nurses go up to the roof, and the co-worker jumps from the roof with the files because the main character just won't leave well enough alone. The main character goes to talk to the boss man, the CEO. She's really dumb. She's really dumb because what she does is she explains exactly how she's going to expose all of this and everything to the man that's running and pretty much knows everything that's going on. You're going to tell him that you're going to expose everything just saying, I'm not going to be quiet, I'm going to tell everybody everything, and then get surprised when he attacks her with a needle. Anyway, she knocks him out, and then she follows the patient lady to Ward X, which holds all of these people that have been tested on, that are essentially stuck in these kind of like poses or like expressions and things like that. The people are supposedly using Ward X in order to kind of like find ways to cure certain diseases or something like that, while using human beings as test subjects and then declaring them legally dead so that nobody. Now she manages to get the security guard also caught up in her bullshit. They're both strapped to the table about to be injected. The security guard guy does get injected. Just in time, patient lady comes in and kills both, not the main character nurse, but the nurse that was operating on her, and the head. So main character girl wakes up in a normal hospital bed. What she could have done was said, I'ma just go home. Live the rest of my life. She doesn't though. She tells people that there's Ward X and this needs to be exposed, this and that. And they get surprised when the people that followed her down there so that she could expose it, they capture her because they're also part of it. And now she and the security guard are trapped down there and are gonna be used as test subjects. See what happens when we don't mind our business. Anyways, I had ranked this episode this is the supreme. This is the best episode of this season. I think the storyline was really good. I think the plot was really good. I think the mystery was interesting. I think the horror and the atmosphere was done really good in this episode. And it was done completely in this black and white style. I don't know why they did that, but it worked. But yeah, that's about it. On to the next episode.
These dudes are in a heist. The main character's girlfriend is like the CEO or like whatever, or manager of this bank, right? And so essentially somehow he lets his criminal buddies that he shouldn't be hanging out with influence him into robbing his girlfriend's bank, who's currently pregnant, by the way. Because they hear something about like there being gold possibly there that they could steal, right? Like a whole half of the episode is pretty much them like planning out what they're planning to do and this plan of theirs or whatever. Anyways, they get into the bank, they get into the basement of the bank, and they follow this open safe door, and they discover that there is actually a huge stack of gold that is right above a well. This well is like prominent throughout the episode. And that's where this well leads down to, where the bank is kind of built on top of. Which, if that was the case and there was just gold sitting there at the bottom of this well that's right outside the bank with more people, there's no like covering there. Like you can, from the bottom of the pit, they can see upwards, they can see the moon. So I'm just like, that pit has remained uncovered this entire time. So people can just see the gold in there if they just look in the well. Okay. Anyways, old girlfriend comes and manages to find out that, that they're trying to rob the bank that she works at, whatever. She looks distraught. There's this leprechaun creature that starts killing them off. And then the girlfriend gives us this lore. She's a halfling, as they call it. She's a half leprechaun, apparently. She gives us this lore about how leprechauns, feast off of human blood, or like they get their energy from human blood, and so like less and less people have been like believing in them and like crossing their paths, or like they're very hungry or whatever. But like I guess the lore is they can only really kill you like that if you touch their gold, which all the guys did. One leprechaun goes after two of them, and then the main character, he kisses his girlfriend one last time, kisses the baby, and she rips his throat out with a kiss. So it's kind of cute, I guess. I mean, I don't really have much to say other than I like the opening credits on this one because it's animated, and it gave it like an interesting kind of flash with it. I also, by the way, I like the opening credits for the last episode as well. But other than that, these opening credits have been duds. Honestly, yeah, this episode was fine. It was fine. The only interesting thing at one point that I was just like, oh, okay, was they hinted at like these two dudes liking each other. Like they had like a little moment together where they kissed, and they were just like, oh, sorry, but like the other dude, I don't know. It was see, that could have been interesting. Like it piqued my interest because I'm just like, oh, homosexuals, like that's cute. But then the cute one immediately dies afterwards. So I'm just like, okay. See, interesting concept, and then Ryan Murphy just throws it away. I'm blaming Ryan for all this, even though I know that there's other writers, but I blame Ryan. Anyways, what would I call this? This episode goes into delicate. It's meh. I don't have much to say about it. Like, the gay kiss was like probably the most interesting thing about it, to be honest. Moving on to the last episode, and it's The Thing Under the Bed. I like this one conceptually. I think the concept was actually kind of interesting. Essentially the premise is that this lady has experienced kind of like these like nightmares where she essentially lives the memories of this little girl who thinks that there's something under her bed. Turns out there was, but not in the way I guess you would expect. So the main woman and her husband are trying to conceive. She doesn't really seem that interested in it. So one night when they were they hear like scratching from underneath the bed. Dude goes to check. He gets sucked in as she's trying to pull him out, and he disappears underneath the bed. Obviously traumatized, she's like sitting there, but then We get a little time lapse. It's been however long later, and apparently her life's kind of in shambles. She's living with her sister. People think she's a murderer. The FBI is investigating her and stalking her and whatnot. And she's trying to figure out what happened. She sees that there's other reports of people who also disappeared into their bedrooms after people in their homes heard a scream. Amongst a bunch of hate mail that she's been getting, she finds this one note of someone that says that they think that they might know what's going on. She goes up to find the dude, and he works at a hospital. He essentially shows the main character, this woman, I don't know how old she's supposed to be now, but she's essentially the little girl that the woman has had nightmares about. She has been in a coma for, I think he said 10 years. The main character and the dude at the hospital kind of have like a coming together where they figure out that they've also been having very similar types of dreams. And one night while in a coma, the lady essentially has like an aneurysm or something like that, and her ratings go off the charts, and there's something underneath the bed while this event is happening that he sees but nobody else managed to catch. And it seems like at the exact time that this happened, and it seems like somebody else from across the neighborhood also got sucked underneath their bed. And so it's kind of like this thing where it seems like whatever is happening, whatever like dream, like nightmare is happening to this lady in her sleep, in her coma, is essentially affecting and kind of creates like a pocket dimension where she or this thing that's underneath the bed is able to kind of like go underneath people's beds in their homes. And I think this is an interesting concept. So eventually the main character goes out to the girl's dad. She goes up to the girl's house. As she tries to piece together what's happening, she eventually falls asleep there and then has this really vivid hallucination, dream, nightmare sequence where this girl, the girl from their dreams and that was in the coma, she essentially brings them to this mindscape, this dreamscape that she essentially kind of rules over this domain, so to speak. So her and the dude from the hospital get transported there, and this lady essentially tells them that she is essentially connected to the multitude of people that are having very similar dreams or nightmares to the main character and the dude from the hospital. So the people there are like neurally linked and are kind of like special people, so to speak. They can kind of like sense or like achieve like a certain level of dream or something like that kind of connects them all together. And in that same nightmare, we see two little kids who will come up. They're fighting, but I actually really like the visuals and kind of like how the editing was done during these scenes. Like it kind of does reminisce a little bit to older American Horror Story styles. Yeah, all to say is that the lady comes to the conclusion that this bitch is too powerful and she's kind of killing a bunch of people. Like as we see the next day that another event happened where she's just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to kill her. But come to find out that because that these people are all kind of going together, like they're kind of all linked through the subconscious, but because these people are all essentially kind of linked through the subconscious of this woman, of this lady, that essentially she can kind of hear or like sense their thoughts and intentions. As this happens, old dude gets sucked up underneath the bed because I guess she sensed it. She wakes up from her coma as her dad's there trying to comfort her or whatever. Old main character lady says, I'm gonna have to go kill her myself. So she goes up to the hospital. As she's running there, the girl who woke up from the coma, she's like, I will be right back. I have to go to sleep for a little bit of time. She goes back and then she confronts the main character who is trying to kill her and says, I really tried to help you. I tried to take you away from that man. You clearly did not want to have sexual relations with him like that. You clearly didn't want to procreate. I helped you, and this is the thanks that I get. So she sucks her up as her sister is screaming, crying, trying to like help her. Main character gets sucked up, and the girl comes back out from her coma and it's just like, don't worry, Dad, I never left you, as she stares menacingly into the window pane. And that's the end of that. I would put this one in red tie because I do really like this. I have some critiques about this, but I think this was a pretty decent episode too. I like this one. I'm gonna put it up. I think I'm gonna put it above Tapeworm. But yeah, I kind of went over this season. Overall, it's giving very meh. There's a few pretty good episodes here. Like I would say about like 3 of these episodes were pretty good. But the other ones were kind of meh or bad or just pissed me off in general. Ryan Murphy needs to stick to the rivers and the lakes that he used to and figure out how to make that work. Again. And I say that because we got backrooms, leprechauns, we have He's using this as like the multiverse of all horror concepts could live and thrive within this shared universe. And I have to say, I think there's a lot of conflicts with that, and it conflicts with the previous events that you've explained and you've explored in your previous stories. And I think the writing choices with some of these characters, it's not even just this, it's also indelicate as well. What is the thought process for some of these people? Because they treat like the idea that ghosts and ghouls, like that's fairy tale. Like nobody thinks about like that as like true. When somebody's explaining like a wild concept to them, like I get like you're kind of like, huh? But like the stranger things have happened in this universe. I'm sorry, this is the same universe that also acknowledges that not only did Murder House and the events happen, but the TV show American Horror Story also exists alongside the events of the universe that also happened too. Do you see how this fries the brain? There's also the back rooms that works based on your mental strain, your mental health, and like whether or not you feel like disassociated from reality or like other people. But there's plenty of characters that you have created that also experience these exact same things but never got teleported into the back rooms. Do you see Ryan, I like the concepts, but you're not doing it well. The way that you're explaining it, it makes the other events of it so no other character was damaged or like felt ostracized enough to like clip into the back rooms. And now we have leprechauns. People don't think those are real, but they're real. And then there's just too many things that people don't think is real that I thought like ghosts at least are common knowledge, but you have indelicate them being like, you think ghosts exist? Like, sir, you live in a universe where it literally does, and people know about it. I think we're getting a little convoluted. And I think the idea of having like a different story every episode, I think is kind of exacerbating the issue of just shoving a bunch of shit that they just don't work well together. Especially because like, how does that explain why these things didn't exist or weren't talked about before? Let's bring things back to basics. Anyways, those are the majority of my thoughts. Yeah, the season was okay. It wasn't like anything spectacular. Like there were a few good episodes, I'll say. The opening title credits, like I said, only 2 of them were giving. The rest of them, not really. Yeah, that's pretty much all my thoughts about that. Thank you so much for watching at this point. If you have made it to the end of this video, you are a godsend. Bless you. I have some very exciting content planned for November and December and January and February. So I have stuff planned out, and I'm gearing up to show you guys in the next couple of weeks. But thank you so much for watching, if you indeed still are, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.